Alkalite was feeling very confident, and he was already imagining the fate of Tassan, who would become his slave. He laughed out loud, and in his mind he said, "Crawl from now on. And when you call me, make sure to use respect. Got it, asshole?" Alkalite imagined Tassan crawling while saying, "Yes, master." Feeling happy, Alkalite said to Tassan, "What else should I do to him? Until this guy dies, I'll be able to have fun. Hey, why don't we give up now? No need to waste any more time." While strangling the goblin in front of him, King Tassan said, "Do you know the duel skill?" Alkalite replied, "Of course. Isn't that a basic skill? No other player can interfere in a fight that has been agreed upon between two people, right?" King Tassan said, "I'll be able to get something similar to that." Alkalite said, "Nonsense." Then, not long after that, the system appeared and informed that you continue to fight against one enemy while facing multiple enemies. You have received a special active skill, Force Duel. King Tassan said, "Bingo." Alkalite became confused and he looked so bloomy, then he said, "Eh." Then the system explained that special active skill, Force Duel, consumes 10 mana and has 1% proficiency. Duel with the target. For 10 seconds, nothing but your target can deal damage to you. King Tassan also said skill Force Duel. Damage, poisoning, confusion, intimidation, etc. The main skill that can remove all debuff effects. I finally got it. Seeing King Tassan manage to get a skill, Alkalite still couldn't believe what had happened, and he immediately read the skill. Then he said, "Impossible." So depending on how you use it, it's a skill that allows you to survive even after being trapped in lava or thrown out of space. And you just got that kind of skill by doing what you did. King Tassan also said, "No one else has gotten this." Yeah, even though it's a relatively not-so-crazy act. Alkalite also said in his heart, "What did this person do to get the skill?" Smiling, King Tassan said, "So, you still remember our bet, right?" Alkalite became annoyed, and he did not reply to Tassan's words. Then Alkalite approached Tassan, and he said, "Yes, let's say it's a bet. Unlike others, I have no limits on my story. Seriously, who are you? Hey, skill isn't everything, so don't get cocky, just because you got something good." King Tassan also said, "What are you babbling about? Just answer my question correctly." Alkalite became annoyed and he said, "This Dan Wedge. Although Forced Duel is a good skill, there are many skills in the maze, you know. Do you know a skill called Leap?" King Tassan replied, "Of course. But why is it Leap? You didn't learn Great Leap." Alkalite said, "What's Great Leap?" King Tassan said, "So you didn't learn it." Then Tassan left the place. Alkalite said, "All right, I'll admit it. You know your stuff. But that's not everything in the labyrinth. What matters is how you survive in this place and what you find. By the way, what are you doing?" King Tassan looked like he wanted to solve a puzzle there. He pulled out the bricks on the wall, and he tapped each brick on the wall. Alkalite said, "Secret room? You're trying so hard." Then King Tassan finally found the right brick and the system said, "You just got a strong virus at." Then King Tassan pushed the bricks, and the wall immediately collapsed. Alkalite was surprised to see that Tassan could find the secret room, and he said, "Eh." King Tassan said in his heart, "Skill detection. If your skill exceeds 20%, sometimes you will receive important information." Then he said, "As expected." Alkalite said, "What, you even have detection? And you've reached that level of proficiency?" After entering the room, King Tassan saw that there were many arrows that looked like they would fall if he stepped on a trap in that place. King Tassan said, "So this time it's the goblin's trap." Alkalite said, "It will be difficult to break through, because this is a randomly set trap. Give up and go back now, it might be a good idea." King Tassan did not respond to Alkalite's words, and he continued to think about how he could get through the traps that were there. King Tassan looked at all the traps there and he said, "First is the arrow trap. Second is the sinking floor trap. Last is the moving wall trap, just like easy mode." Then Tassan immediately did a running position, and he immediately moved very quickly forward. Then he deflected all the arrows that were heading towards him. Then he saw that there was a trap under the ground, and he jumped to the side of the wall. Then he jumped back down. After that he continued running. Alkalite was amazed to see Tassan could pass the obstacle. After that, Tassan managed to reach the last trap, and the wall looked like it wanted to destroy him. Then Tassan gathered strength in his fist, and he immediately hit the wall, and the wall was made destroyed by Tassan. Alkalite was very surprised to see Tassan could destroy the wall. King Tassan said this wall is not a labyrinth wall, but a wall made by the goblins. Its durability is not very high. That's why it's so easy to break it. Then King Tassan said they are exactly the same. Alkalite said in his heart, let's keep my mouth shut. Then Tassan pulled the lever that was there and he said, all right, that's clear. What's the prize this time? Then Tassan opened the treasure box there and inside was a ring. And the item was a spring holding ring that could add mana by 5. And the item had an explanation that a cynic contained in the spring is hidden deep inside. It gives off a subtle and pure scent. King Tassan said, mana ring? Perfect timing. Alkalite said, let me ask you this. Who are you? King Tassan said, me. Can you understand if I tell you that I am the second person? Hearing such an answer, Alkalite became confused, and he said, second? King Tassan said, forget it if you can't. King Tassan said in his heart, he doesn't seem to know anything. In that case, I guess Bizord Ouroboros can only be obtained after the 85th floor. Come to think of it, 10 days must have passed since I entered the labyrinth. Then Tassan opened the community screen. There was someone saying a rat this big. How can we catch it? Then someone replied, we'll just have to work hard, I guess. Then someone said, after handling it hundreds of times, you should be able to see it roughly. You have to aim at that time. Then Kang Junhuk and Lee Taidian came into the conversation and the people there said, wow, Junhuk, how did you do it right? Kang Junhuk said, me? Compared to you who left first, I'm nothing special, young. Lee Taidian said, let's leave that person out of our discussion. After reading some of the messages, Kang Tassan said, good, it's almost time. Alkalite said, what? What are you going to do? Kang Tassan said, don't you know this thing called community? Well, there is such a thing. Alkalite became annoyed, and he said, a stroll. Tassan then entered the discussion and said, hey. Lee Taidian said, oh, it's Mr. Tassan. Kang Junhuk said, young, it's been a long time. Then the people there said, what? It's Mr. Tassan. Kang Junhuk said, you always go to a separate room. So for you to contact the whole community, is there something wrong? Kang Tassan said, it's just that I think it's time to explain. What is this situation? Kang Junhuk replied, it was rather easy to manage. Half of the people who arrived at the Spring of Life managed to hunt him down. Kang Tassan said, what about you two? Kang Junhuk replied, we ran when we saw the boss. He immediately lost control after being attacked once. Lee Taiyin replied, it was the same for me. I couldn't defeat him with my strength, so I looked for other ways. Although it will require hard work, it will be safer. Kang Tassan said, you seem to be doing well. Now the reason I came today is to teach the solo mode player about skills. Kang Junhuk said, oh, that sounds useful, but why now? Kang Tassan said, because now is the best time. Skills are not an end, but a means to get through the maze. If I tell you too soon, it will mess up the order. Lee Taidian said, that's right. For people like us who just came to the maze. Even if we heard about the skill, I don't think we would understand it. Kang Tassan said, anyway, I'll explain it now, so listen carefully. Tell that to the people who aren't here later. The people who were there said, wait, isn't this good information? As expected from Mr. Tassan. Thank you very much, Mr. Tassan. I'll never forget this kindness. Kang Tassan said, okay. It would be best if you save your thanks until you're done listening. First of all, I will tell you how to get the easiest skill to obtain pain reduction. Thrust your sword into your arm. Make sure you do it well. Don't you each have a rusty sword? You have to thrust it deep into your forearm. It will fit if you insert it properly into the bone, so don't mess it up just because you're scared. The person who was there said, what? Bone? Are you really telling us to stab ourselves with swords? Kang Tassan said, yes. There's the Spring of Life right beside you anyway, so what's the big deal? Everyone who heard that could only be silent and scared. Kang Tassan continued his words. He said if you fight Big Rat and use that skill, you can get a skill called Unbroken Will. That will make you continue fighting regardless of any injuries you have, so be sure to fight him. The person who was there said, is he telling us to kill ourselves? Will another skill be something I can learn? Kang Tassan said, I'll keep explaining, so listen carefully. The next skill is called Apnea. You can get that skill if you continue to the Spring of Life and hold your breath until just before you die. and if you swing your sword to your limit while using that skill, you will get Breathless Strike. The people who were there became frightened, and they said, that is also the same as telling us to die. Kang Ta-san continued, he said, the next one is Endurance. It will allow you to negate damage that could result in death. You only need to save 1 stamina, and withstanding 30 attacks from the big rat is a pretty good bet. Everyone who heard that became even more pessimistic, and they looked discouraged. The people said, do we really have to go that far just to get a skill? I can't do that. How can you tell us to do such crazy things? No matter how much we need the skill, I don't think it's a good idea. The person over there replied, I think so too. I can't do that. Kang Ta-san also said, I have no thoughts of forcing you guys to master it. I have no reason to, so it's up to you to decide. Kang Ta-san said in his heart, well, that's an understandable reaction. These people are people who used to live in modern times. To them, war is just a part of history and famine is just a distant country's problem. They were people who had never risked their lives for anything in their entire lives. So just because they entered the labyrinth doesn't mean their origins can change easily. Li Taeyin asked Ta-san, he said, is there really no other way? Kang Ta-san replied, unfortunately there isn't. The people who were there also looked gloomy, and they seemed to have no spirit anymore. Then Kang Jun-hyuk said, then we have no other choice. We have to give it a try. Li Taeyin said, I never thought I would do something like this in my life. The people there said, are you crazy? Are you two really not going to do that? He's probably lying to us, right? Li Taeyin said, why would Mr. Ta-san do such a thing? Kang Jun-hyuk said, why would someone who's fine like him lie to us? Weren't you referring to Ta-san-hyung's strategy of all this time? The people who were there became embarrassed after hearing such words. Kang Ta-san smiled seeing him being defended like that. Kang Jun-hyuk said, I want to start from the safest. Atmia's guild is not that dangerous, right? Kang Ta-san said, you'll be fine as long as you get out as soon as the system window appears. But it won't be that easy to suppress your instincts, so you guys will have a little trouble with that. The people who were there were surprised to see that Kang Jun-hyuk and Li Taeyin would do that. They said, wow. What? Are they really going to do it? Kang Ta-san then said, do your best. I'll let you know when you can get another skill. Then, Kang Ta-san started to leave the discussion. Kang Jun-hyuk said yes, thank you, Tae-san-hyung. Li Taeyin also said, I will try my best. After that, Alkalite said, I was wondering what you were going to do. It turns out you're doing something useless. It doesn't matter whether you give them advice or not. The labyrinth is a place where people who are destined to die will eventually die. Kang Ta-san said, even so, some of them might live, right? Alkalite became a little annoyed, and he said, forget it. If it's over, let's leave quickly. You're frustrating me by holding something weird when we're almost there. It's time for us to catch the boss. Tae-san found a big door, and he said, is this the end of floor 2? Alkalite said, yes, but aren't you going to ask me about the boss information? Didn't you just win a hard-earned bet? Kang Ta-san opened the door and he said, I don't need that. I have other things I need to ask you. Alkalite said, huh? Kang Ta-san said, now, let's get started. After he entered the place, the system informed him that the mace-wielding goblin has appeared. The guardian goblin has appeared. In the room, there was a goblin boss, holding a staff, and he looked like he was chanting a spell. Then in front of him was a small goblin, holding a small sword. And the goblin boss continued to recite a spell. And the other goblin went straight to Ta-san, and he immediately slashed Ta-san. But Ta-san can withstand the attack by using his shield. Alkalite became agitated, and he said, wait, no, I shouldn't be doing this right now. Kang Ta-san countered the goblin's attack. He hit the goblin with his shield. Alkalite glanced at the goblin boss, who was there, and he said, am I too late? Then the goblin boss looked like he had finished the spell. And Alkalite said, hey, you seem to know their skill, but I don't think you understand their strategy. You have to catch that bastard first. Can't you tell at first glance that he's doing something suspicious? Kang Ta-san said, don't worry, I can see it well. Also, this way is the best in my opinion. Then the goblin boss cast his magic on Ta-san. Ta-san was just silent, and he immediately closed his eyes. After that, Ta-san opened his eyes again. But he was already in another place, and that place looked like a lot of people who were dying who were crawling to him. Kang Ta-san said, this place? The people who were there said, "This is all because you chose easy mode. We died because of you. Why are you the only one who survived? It's all because of you. It's your fault. It's your fault." Kang Ta-san could only remain silent. The people who were there began to crawl to Ta-san's feet, and they said, "What exactly were you born for? This is all because of you. You useless insect bastard. You're just trash that can only eat." Kang Ta-san also looked a little uneasy, and suddenly the corpse of Li Taedian appeared. And he said, "Ta-san, why didn't you come to me? Why didn't you let me die alone?" Kang Ta-san became even more agitated, and he looked a little scared. Then the people who were dying immediately surrounded Ta-san, and Ta-san began to be groped by them. Then Ta-san could only surrender, and he closed his eyes. Then Ta-san opened his eyes again, and he said, "I'm sorry, but this kind of method won't work on me. So just stop it." And from outside, Alkalite saw Ta-san, who was down because he had been hit by the magic of the goblin boss. He said, "It looks like you're the one who finally made it out of the grave this time. Why don't you just listen to me? Did the revenge fail this time?" Then the goblin boss began to cast fire magic, and the goblin boss immediately shot his magic at Ta-san. Then Ta-san regained consciousness, and he shouted, "I said, stop." Ta-san then destroyed the magic, and he also immediately cut down all the fire magic that was heading towards him. The system also informed that you managed to survive using the indomitable spirit skill. Alkalite was surprised to see Ta-san regain consciousness, and he said, "Huh? So you managed to hold it off." The goblin boss was shocked to see that, and he panicked. Kang Ta-san was still silent. Then the goblin boss released his magic again, and the system said the goblin holding the mace activates madness. Then Ta-san was easily able to destroy the magic. The system said, "No need for judgment. You got rid of it with indomitable spirit." Kang Ta-san said, "I told you it wouldn't work on me." The goblin boss panicked, and then he cast another magic. The system said the goblin holding the mace activates the curse. Kang Ta-san said, "Unfortunately, my spirit-related skills have never failed before." The system said, "No need for judgment." The goblin boss became scared, and Kang Ta-san walked towards the goblin, and he immediately strangled the monster. Then he lifted it up. The system said, "You have experienced mind-related magic many times. You obtained special skills that will always be active: spirit resistance and magic resistance." Kang Ta-san raised his sword, and he said, "I have everything I need now. Goodbye." Upon seeing such an event, Alkalite became astonished, and he said he was able to survive the mind control magic using ordinary spirit resistance. "I can't even do that. I was planning to give him information about the enemy so that he could move according to my control. But it turns out he's a crazy bastard, even beyond my imagination. Who exactly is that guy?" After that, Kang Ta-san defeated the boss of the second floor. Then Kang Ta-san continued his journey to the third floor, and he also checked the gifts he had gotten. He got an entry-level mana enhancement potion, which could permanently increase mana by 10. Then he also got the lowly thieving tool, which would be used to escape from traps and could open locks. Kang Ta-san also looked so happy, and he said, "Who would have thought that something useful like this would appear as a secret gift? Thanks to this, I will soon acquire the skill related to the trap." Alkalite looked a little annoyed, and he said, "Actually, you managed to get everything you could get on the second floor." Kang Ta-san said, "So what? Why are you so upset about it?" Then Ta-san drank the mana enhancement potion. Alkalite said, "Hey, I'm a dead person. Do you expect me to be happy seeing someone who lived well like you?" Kang Ta-san said, "Well, you're right about that, but it's none of my business." Alkalite became even more upset after hearing such words. Then the system informed him that the quest on floor 3 begins. You can pass this floor after defeating the boss on floor 3. Reward: entry-level stamina booster potion. Secret prize is still unknown. Kang Ta-san said, "Now, this is floor 3. After that, Ta-san visited the shop, and the shop owner said, "Oh, you're finally here." The shop owner realized that Ta-san did not come alone, and he said, "Ha." Alkalite immediately approached the shopkeeper, and in a mocking tone he said, "Wow, you're that ancient old man, right? Are you still alive?" The shopkeeper looked annoyed, and he said, "So you received the quest. Ta-san, he's just a noisy loser. Don't let yourself be too influenced by him." Alkalite became annoyed, and he said, "What a bluff from an old man who can only pray. And this old man is giving his advice to someone. Is he so precious to you? Should I hit that guy? I want to see this old man go crazy over it." The shopkeeper said, "Do you think a trivial bastard like you can hit him?" Alkalite said, "I'm dead anyway. What do you think I can't do? Don't you think so?" The shopkeeper said, "Looks like you want your remaining spirit to die up too. Huh." In the middle of their argument, Kang Ta-san took out so many items from his inventory, and he said, "Stop babbling and look at the library. I'll sell all of this. Also, please show me something useful." The shop owner was surprised to see so many items that Ta-san took out, and he said, "You've gotten this much? How many monsters have you caught?" After that, Kang Ta-san bought the item Metal Embedded Gloves, which could add attack power by 2. Then he bought Bronze Shield, which could add attack power by 1 and defense power by 5. King Ta-san said, "That looks really amazing." Then Ta-san bought the Metal Ring, which added attack power by 1. Then he bought the Needle Ring, which could add attack power by 2. And he also bought the Strong Kalu item, which could add attack power by 2. Kang Ta-san said, "As expected, these items are the best. Now I can defeat the goblin in 2 attacks, right?" Alkalite shouted, "That's cheating." The shopkeeper said, "That's Iraqi art of weaponry." The two of them argued again, then Kang Ta-san said, "Both of you, stop it. I'll leave now." Then Kang Ta-san and Alkalite left the shop. In the middle of the journey, Kang Ta-san said, "What makes you two hate each other so much?" Alkalite said in an angry tone, "Do you think it's possible to like that mean and stupid old man? Be careful. That bastard, he only treats others well if it benefits him. I'm saying that he could change at any time. So you can't trust him. He's just a surrendered slave. He's an enemy to people like you or me, so you should remember that." Kang Ta-san said in his heart, "Is he saying that from his experience?" Then he said, "Okay, I see." Then in front of him suddenly there was a killing aura. And from there appeared 3 goblins. Ta-san only made a flat expression, and then he immediately beat one of the goblins there. And the goblin was immediately bounced so far away. The other 2 goblins were immediately amazed to see their friend thrown so easily. Then Ta-san immediately kicked the goblin. And the other goblin looked so scared and he tried to run away. But Ta-san immediately finished off the monster. Alkalite said, "Oh my, this floor is so boring." Then there was a massacre and Alkalite was astonished by Ta-san, and he said, in the past, this place was quite violent. There were always mental attackers in each of their groups, so I almost died back then." Kang Ta-san had carried out a massacre at 2 places there, and the first place was only completed in 3 minutes, and the second place was only completed in 2 minutes. Alkalite became even more astonished with Ta-san, and he said, "Do you think your current speed is reasonable?" Kang Ta-san said, "Floor 3 is definitely easier than Floor 2 for me." Alkalite said, "At this point, don't you think there's no need to catch them all one by one? At your level, I don't think this will increase your XP either. Why don't you just go to the next stage?" Then Ta-san found a door there, and he immediately opened the door. Then he said, "You're right, but there is a quest." Alkalite said, "Huh? Quest? Is there another quest that you can accept now?" Then, while slaughtering all the monsters there, Kang Ta-san said, "This is a quest from Rakuratas. He asked me to eradicate all the monsters on floors 2 and 3. Alkalite was shocked to hear that, and he said, "Did that bastard give a quest like that? I finished the test from him, but this is the first time I've heard something like that." Then, while being attacked by the mental magic of the goblins that were there, Kang Ta-san said, "Yes. Also, there's something I want to ask you about him. How much do you know about the apostle contract?" Alkalite was surprised to hear such a question. He said, I can't believe you know about that too. It's like that bastard offered you the apostle's contract, right? I didn't get that offer in the past." "Well, which one should I explain first?" Kang Ta-san said, "Are you willing to explain it to me easily?" Alkalite said, "I'm already dead. It's just that I'm limited by the rules, but there's no limit to the information I have. Should I explain it to you from the beginning? The gods are responsible for their respective territories. Gods who are responsible for victory, gods who are responsible for defeat. But there are also gods who are responsible for 2 or more territories, such as Rakuratas who are responsible for fighting and dying. Conceptual gods in charge of conception, belief gods formed from beliefs, and so on. There are various of them." Kang Ta-san also said, "What kind of existence are the gods in this place? They seem to be different from the gods on Earth." Alkalite said they were the ones who helped design the labyrinth. Kang Ta-san said, "Design?" Alkalite said, "You remember the window system you saw when you entered this place, don't you? Long ago, this place was a maze created by an extraordinary wizard. There were rumors that she would grant the wish of anyone who conquered this maze. It was difficult for the witch to create this maze alone. So she met with the transcendental being and conveyed her plan. What she wanted: to create a huge labyrinth, a tower that leads underground. She asked them if they wanted to see when many knights and heroes tried to conquer this place. The challenge to do battle for those who had to risk their lives, and the futile deaths they had to suffer." Kang Ta-san said, "Looks like the gods really like that idea." Alkalite said, "Really like it?" They liked the idea like crazy and gave their full support to the magician. That was how they spent their precious time planning this place, the labyrinth. The labyrinth, painstakingly crafted by the gods, was finally erected. It was deep down there. That was the foundation of this place. Those who entered the labyrinth would be identified through tests, their attention and value would be assessed. They will offer the contract to the person they like the most out of everyone else. It is called the Apostle Contract. Kang Ta-san said, "So, is it a bad thing or a good thing?" Alkalite said, "If someone becomes an apostle, that person will be endowed with as many skills as the gods love. They will also help that person by giving better gifts than that person has ever received before." After that, Kang Ta-san looked at the sword he received from Rakuritas. Then he said, "Then what is its weakness?" Alkalite said, "Your soul will belong to that god. Also, other gods will not like you. There are different gods in this labyrinth, they all have different desires. Especially Rakuritas, he is a god who has many enemies. Quite a few gods hate him because they feel his behavior is demeaning to them. I'm sure things will be more troublesome if you go there. There's one more thing. You must also obey the god's grace as a reward for the power given to you. No matter what happens, even if it doesn't make sense, you can't refuse it." After hearing such an explanation, Ta-san became doubtful, and he said there are many weaknesses. Then he thought, "I guess I should forget my plan to accept the Apostle Contract. By the way, he said that those who conquer the labyrinth will have their wishes granted. Conquering means completing all the quests, right? But I've never heard that Li Tadian's wish came true. Could it be that Ouroboros is his wish? But the Li Tadian I know should have made another wish, instead of turning back time. There were a lot of strange things from the beginning. After combining all the ghost stories, it seems like the adventurers spontaneously challenged the labyrinth to make their wishes come true. But what about the Earthlings? There are still many unknowns." Kang Ta-san became even more dizzy after thinking about all that, and he said, "Should we leave now?" Alkalite said, "All right. If this is the case, let's catch them all quickly before we go down." "Okay." Kang Ta-san said in his heart, "All I can do now is focus on the things I can do now."